In 2023, tech support scams stole more than $924 million from Americans. That number comes directly from the FBI, and the people losing the most money weren't careless. They weren't confused. They were targeted, systematically, professionally, and deliberately. Adults over 60 account for the single largest group of victims, and the average senior who falls for this scam loses more than $24,000 in a single incident. The woman at the center of today's story lost nearly double that. One phone call, one Tuesday morning, $47,000 gone. And if you or someone you love uses a computer and has a bank account, what happened to her could happen to you before this video ends. Her name is Dorothy Callahan. She is 82 years old, and she lives in Spokane, Washington, in the same house she shared with her husband for 41 years before he passed. Dorothy is a retired school librarian, sharp, independent, and proud of the fact that she handles her own finances, pays her own bills online, and video calls her grandchildren every Sunday without needing anyone's help. She is not a woman who makes reckless decisions. She is exactly the kind of person who believes she would recognize a scam if one came for her. That belief, carefully cultivated by the people who targeted her, became the very thing they used against her. It was her daughter Karen who first noticed something was wrong. Dorothy had mentioned the phone call in passing. A helpful Microsoft technician who had sorted out a virus on her computer. Karen asked a few questions. The answers didn't add up. Together, they logged into Dorothy's bank account. The savings account she had built over 40 years of careful living showed a balance of $214. 3 wire transfers, 2 ACH payments, processed across a span of 4 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, while Dorothy sat at her kitchen table on the phone believing she was being protected. $47,000 transferred to accounts that no longer existed by the time anyone thought to look. What happened to Dorothy Callahan has a name. It is called a tech support impersonation scam, and it is one of the most sophisticated, most profitable, and most underreported financial crimes targeting American seniors today. This is not a new scam. It is not a crude one. It is an industrialized operation run by organized criminal networks, staffed with trained callers and engineered specifically to exploit the trust that decent people place in names they recognize. Microsoft, Windows, security. These are not random words. They were chosen because they work. Dorothy's story is not an isolated tragedy. It is one of hundreds happening every single day across this country. It started not with a phone call, but with a pop-up. Dorothy was reading a recipe website on a Tuesday morning when her entire screen went dark and then filled with a red and white alert. The message said her computer had been compromised, that her banking credentials and social security number had been detected by hackers, and that she needed to call the Microsoft security support number displayed on the screen immediately. A loud, continuous alarm tone played through her speakers. The screen would not close. She could not navigate away. She did what the screen told her to do. She called the number. The man who answered was calm, professional, and patient. He called himself a Microsoft security technician. He knew her operating system. He knew her browser. He spoke with the quiet authority of someone who fixes problems like this every day. He told Dorothy that her situation was serious but manageable, and that with her cooperation, they could secure her accounts before any permanent damage was done. She felt relieved. She felt lucky she had called in time. He then walked her through downloading a program called AnyDesk, telling her it was a diagnostic tool used by Microsoft technicians to run a remote security scan. This is where the crime was completed. The moment Dorothy clicked the installation link and granted access, the criminal on the other end of the phone had full, real-time, unrestricted control of her computer, her files, her passwords, her saved credentials, and her screen. With that access live, he asked her to open her bank's website so they could verify their accounts hadn't been accessed by the hackers. Dorothy logged in. The criminal watched every keystroke. He saw her balance. He saw her routing number. He saw everything. And then, while keeping her on the phone with reassuring, methodical conversation about security protocols and federal investigations, he initiated 5 separate transactions from her account. She never saw a single one process. The interface he was controlling made sure of that. By the time he thanked her for her patience and told her the situation was resolved, $47,000 was already moving through a chain of accounts designed to disappear. Here is what nobody in the banking industry wants to say out loud. When Dorothy authorized that remote access and logged into her own bank account, every transaction that followed was technically classified as an authorized transfer initiated by the account holder. That is not a loophole. That is the default policy. Wire transfers and ACH payments that originate from a verified login on a recognized device carry no automatic fraud flag, even when they are draining a lifelong savings account in the span of 4 hours. The burden of proof falls entirely on the victim after the fact, and recovery rates for wire fraud of this type sit below 4%. The software the criminal used, AnyDesk, TeamViewer, and similar platforms, is completely legal. Your company's IT department uses the same tools. There is no mechanism for carriers or banks to flag its installation as suspicious because in nearly every other context, it is not. And the pop-up that started everything, it was delivered through a legitimate advertising network embedded in a real website using a purchased ad slot. The website Dorothy was reading had no idea it was there. The ad rotated out before anyone could report it. You are not being protected from this by your bank. You are not being protected by your internet provider. You are being protected only by what you know. And right now, most people do not know enough. The FBI's 2023 Internet Crime Report is unambiguous. Adults over 60 file more tech support fraud complaints than any other age group in the country, and they lose more money per incident than any other demographic. The FTC has documented that people over 70 lose money to this specific scam type at a rate 3.5 times higher than adults between 18 and 59. These are not accidents of circumstance. Criminals choose this demographic on purpose. You are targeted because you are likely to be home alone during business hours when your family cannot intervene. You are targeted because you have accumulated savings worth stealing. You are targeted because you extend good faith to institutional names like Microsoft and because you were raised to cooperate with authority. Every single one of those qualities is a data point in a targeting model. This is not random. You are selected. Step 1. Learn the names AnyDesk and TeamViewer right now. These are the 2 remote access tools most commonly used in tech support scams. Write them down. Put the paper next to your computer. No legitimate technology company, not Microsoft, not Apple, not your internet provider, will ever ask you to download either of these programs in response to a pop-up alert or an unsolicited call. If anyone asks you to install either one, hang up. That is the entire rule. No exceptions. Step 2. Designate a trusted contact at your bank this week. Every major US bank, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, and others now allows you to add a trusted contact person to your account. This is a free service. It takes approximately 10 minutes at your local branch or over the phone. Your trusted contact is not given access to your money. They are simply someone the bank can call if unusual activity is detected. Call your bank's main customer service line and ask specifically to add a trusted contact person to all of your accounts. Do it before you finish watching this video. Step 3. Enable transaction alerts and request a wire transfer delay. Log into your bank's website or mobile app and activate real-time text or email alerts for every transaction above $500. Then call your branch directly and ask whether they offer a mandatory review period or cooling off window before wire transfers are processed. Several banks now offer this as a senior protection feature, but you must ask for it. It is rarely automatic. Step 4. Apply the pause and call rule in your household. Agree with a family member or trusted friend right now that if you ever receive a call or pop-up about your computer, your bank accounts, or your social security number, you will hang up or close the screen and call that person before doing anything else. Not after, not while still on the phone with the caller, before. This single rule, applied consistently, stops this scam at every stage. The criminal's entire strategy depends on keeping you engaged and isolated. One phone call to someone who loves you breaks the entire mechanism. Step 5. Register your number and activate call blocking. Visit donotcall.gov and register every phone number in your household with the FTC's National Do Not Call Registry. Then contact your mobile or landline carrier and ask about built-in scam call filtering. Most major carriers, including AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, now offer this at no charge. You can also download Nomorobo, which is free for landlines and low cost for mobile, and which specifically targets the robocall infrastructure used to initiate tech support scams. Step 6. Print and post the Microsoft Zero Contact Rule. Microsoft's official policy, stated publicly on their support website at microsoft.com/n-us/reporterscam, is that Microsoft will never proactively reach out to you about a problem on your computer unless you contacted them first. Never. Not by phone, not by pop-up, not by email. Print that sentence. Tape it to your monitor. When the next call comes, and it will come, that piece of paper is your permission to hang up without guilt. If this is happening to you right now, or if it happened recently, move through these steps in order. First, do not abruptly hang up. Note the phone number, the name they gave, and everything they told you. Then, immediately disconnect your computer from the internet. Unplug your Ethernet cable or turn off your Wi-Fi. This terminates the remote session and stops any further access to your device. Next, call your bank's fraud department immediately using the phone number printed on the back of your debit or credit card, not any number provided by the caller. When someone answers, say these exact words: "I have been the victim of a tech support scam and I need an emergency transaction hold placed on all outgoing transfers right now." Ask specifically to speak with the fraud department's escalation team and request that all recent wire transfers be flagged for a recall attempt. Then file reports in 2 places. Go to ic3.gov, that is the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, and submit a complaint with every detail you have. Then go to reportfraud.ftc.gov and file a second report with the Federal Trade Commission. Both reports create the legal paper trail necessary for any recovery attempt or law enforcement action. call the AARP fraud helpline at 1-877908-3360. Trained counselors that will walk you through next steps at no cost and can connect you with additional resources in your state. If the scammer had access to your social security number, contact Adult Protective Services in your county immediately. And if your bank is unresponsive to your fraud claim, call your U.S. Representative's Constituent Services Office. Congressional inquiry has, in documented cases, accelerated bank-level fraud investigations significantly. This scam is not standing still. In 2025 and into 2026, criminal networks running tech support fraud have begun using AI-generated voice cloning to make their callers sound more authoritative, more institutional, and harder to question. They have also developed what investigators now call the second wave, a follow-up call placed weeks after the first attack, this time posing as a fraud recovery service, offering to help you get your money back. Same criminals, same victim. A second theft from someone still raw from the first. Here is what you need to remember. Microsoft will never call you. A pop-up alarm is never a real emergency. Remote access software installed at a stranger's request is not a security tool. It is the weapon. Your bank will not automatically protect you. You have to build that protection yourself. And you have to build it before the call comes. If Dorothy's story made you stop and think about someone you love, do not let that feeling pass without acting on it. Share this video with your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, your friends. Not because this channel needs the views, because the next call is already being made to someone who doesn't know what you now know. Protecting the people you love is not a suggestion. Right now, it is genuinely urgent.